Hello everyone, Darren here, and on today's episode we are going to look at how to play the British heavy tank, the FV215B. This tank is the least recommended tank out of the three possible Tier 10 British heavies. So today we will look at the armor of the tank, followed by the mobility, the gun, then we will look at how to set up the FV215B before closing with some gameplay. So let's get started. Now, in regards to armor, the tank is basically a Conqueror chassis, but it is rear mounted with the turret at the rear and the engine at the front. This means that the tank performs wonderfully when hull down with the superior Conqueror turret, but when given the ability to side scrape, if positioned correctly, the FV215B can perform that job relatively well. I should point out there are two weak spots on each side of the tank below the turret that are relatively the major target for enemy tanks to shoot at when you are side scraping. Those two little pieces of armor below the turret that extend out over the tracks, as you can see, the little lime green pieces, those become the flattest part of the tank when you are side scraping against an enemy. If the enemy sees this and knows that that is the weak spot and shoots at it, it will go through and penetrate your armor. So keep this in mind when side scraping. Now the mobility of the FV215B is a mixed bag. The forward speed is 34.3 km per hour, which is around the average for Tier 10 heavy tanks. The reverse speed, however, is abysmal at 12 km per hour reverse speed. Now, since the engine is mounted in the front of the tank, this means that the engine has a higher probability of fire at 20%. So carrying a fire extinguisher or decking your crew out with firefighting skills is highly recommended. Now the gun is what makes this tank shine. The FV215B has the second fastest reload of any Tier 10 heavy tank at 8.69 seconds base reload. This is second to the Chieftain and the same reload as the Super Conqueror. Accuracy is good too at 0.33. This means you will have no problem hitting your target. Gun elevation is alright at 15 degrees, but you only have 7 degrees of gun depression all around. So, to set up the tank, in terms of consumables, I run 22 AP, 11 APCR, and 2 HESH for artillery or lightly armored targets. I also run a repair kit, a first aid kit, and a fire extinguisher because of the high fire chance. But if your crew has firefighting skills, you could forgo the fire extinguisher and use food if you want to. For equipment, I use rammer, vert stabs, and vents to improve the already fast rate of fire and accuracy of the gun. Of course, you can swap vents for optics if vision is an important factor for you. So how do you play the FV215B? I have found that the best way to play the 215B is to fight around your rate of fire. You are able to play the support role if necessary, or brawl as well, provided you have the terrain necessary to brawl. If you have the terrain available to side scrape effectively, or even go hull down, you will find that your high rate of fire can be effective at permanently tracking or even locking down a lane of approach almost single-handedly. If you have to take a supporting role, again, your rate of fire will be effective at punishing tanks that expose themselves for too long, as well as permanently tracking tanks for your allies. That concludes looking at the important aspects of the FV215B. So let's look at some gameplay. So we're taking a look right now at a snippet of gameplay from a game that I had on Siegfried Line War standard battle. You can see here that I am side scraping off this rubble pile to minimize my overall exposure to the enemy team, and you can just see the rate of fire here at work. Currently just tearing apart that one Conqueror, ammo racking the other Conqueror. And now you're going to see me just kind of just roll right around after seeing that the Chieftain fired, put a round into him before backing up. And because of the fact that the chassis overall is a Conqueror hull, it is armored enough to be able to withstand just snapshots from the enemy team. You already saw there that I bounced a snapshot from the Conqueror. I go back into a reverse side scraping to try and minimize my profile. I put one shot into him, and now you just see me kind of rocking back and forth here, just trying to, make it harder for him to aim at my weak spots. Another snapshot bounced off of me by the E5. The Jagdtiger, instead of just aiming at the lower plate, decides to try and shoot my cupola, and I bounce that. But now I just punish the Jagdtiger and the E5 for shooting at me, and I have enough rate of fire to be able to punish both of them, make them think twice. You see the Jagdtiger trying to make a run for it. I put a round into him, and before escaping, he gets taken out by an ally. And now I'm kind of spacing, but you don't really see it, but I was there side scraping off of the stone pillar right there in the middle. I just pop right up. I do take a shot. I did take a shot earlier from another tank. As you can see, the Conqueror chassis is still fragile, regardless of the fact that I am a rear-mounted tank. I pop out. I shoot him again, taking care of the chieftain, and now I am trying to duel the E5. Again, you still see that it is fragile, and if angled incorrectly, you are going to take damage. He ammo racked me. I repair my ammo rack, and you see that I got hull down a little bit there, and I bounced another shot, and now I'm reverse side scraping off of the wreckage of the dead tanks. Yes, I do see a googly eye staring at me from the dead tank. Little weird feeling being stared at by death. But now I'm closing in on the E5. Instead, though, when I was looking at the minimap at this time, I realized that the 62A was more than likely going to try and come back towards the city. And you can kind of see him just slowly moving back anyway. And but now he is definitely, I see that he is going to cross my path. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for him there. So I stop, I zoom in, I put a shot in the 62A, and now we're going to kind of have like a nice little duel. And I do take a hit by Artie, and that was a big problem there. I do get hit again by Artie, and you just saw he hit me on the engine deck, and I caught fire. And that almost will always happen when you get shot on the engine deck with, you know, artillery or any high-powered gun. I did get caught. I did manage to put out the fire just in time, and I put the 62A to low enough health to where all I had to do is just tap him, and I ram killed him essentially. Overall, because my engine is taken out, I'm effectively now out of the fight, and I will not be able to take care of the artillery. I end up closing out the game with just over 8k combined damage, and the game overall was a pretty good success. I should have died way early on, but the Armour withstood and held up to the intensity that I was putting it under, and it was just a very, very good game overall. And that concludes today's video on how to play the British heavy tank, the FV215B. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to click on the subscribe button. But until next time, this has been Darren of WotC Academy.